help me beg the older generation of Indians in Kenya to stop being racist towards the Kenyan people, towards the black. Pay black people the same wages you pay your own kind.
Hi fam, Gracie here. I hope you all are well today. I'm good myself. To those of you that continue watching, subscribing, liking, and commenting on the content that I put out here, it really means a lot to me, and I don't take any of that for granted. So thank you so very much for your support. Now, today's video, I feel like it is us Africans that really need to start recognizing these things, because we've been acting dumb, we've been acting so passive about these things, and they are happening in our eyes. And I feel like it is time to call out what needs to be called out, instead of letting these people really disrespect us in our own countries. And yeah, but I want us to watch this clip together. We'll get back and talk about it.
Indians in Africa, and especially in Kenya, we all know your ancestors were brought into these lands to come and build the railway line by the British. After the British left, you guys stayed to be part of us, which was only fair because you guys deserve to be here. But please, help me beg the older generation of Indians in Kenya to stop being racist towards the Kenyan people, towards the black. Pay black people the same wages you pay your own kind for the same services offered. A lot of Kenyans are suffering in EPZ, industrial area, and all the industries that are Indian owned because they're being treated very brutally. There's a lot of racism. Please, please.
I need you guys to help me settle a debate that I'm having with my cousin here in Kenya. I'm visiting here, but I grew up mostly in the United States, and my cousin and I are having this discussion about the Indian Kenyan community in Kenya. The Indians have been here for over 100 years. They came here to build the railroads in the 1850s, and they've stayed. They consider themselves Kenyan. However, they live very secluded lives compared to black Kenyans. They build apartment complex and housing units and rent only to other Indians and do not rent to the black population. And my cousin does not think that is racism. Of course, I think that is just straight 100% racism. She thinks that because they buy the land for their community with their own Indian money, and they build for their community, rent only to their community, they're just taking advantage of what the Kenyan government allows them, which of course is a problem because the Kenyan government does allow this. However, whichever way you spin it, it's racism, even if the black Kenyans choose to do the same thing to the Indian Kenyans, as she says. I think it's racism whichever way you look at it. She thinks racism really only applies when an Indian is hiring a black Kenyan for a job, and for the same qualifications, they are paying them a lesser salary than the Indians. So that's racism to her. But the other way is just taking advantage of, I guess, essentially a loophole. Tell me what you guys think, because I think it's all wrong.
So this is the second part of the video that I just posted about how racist Indian people are towards black people. So I moved out of my father's house at 19. At 21, I moved back in. And one day I remember this very specifically. One day he comes out of the bathroom and he goes, you need to stop hanging out with black people and you need to stop eating their food. And I was like confused. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, you use the bathroom and it smelled after. So you need to stop doing that and stop eating their food because it smells like black people in here. When he said that, I lashed out on him so hard, to the point where he wanted to get physical again with me and beat me, but I stopped it right then and there. His thought was that because I had black friends, I was eating their food, and, black people food smells. Given the fact that I actually was only eating the food that his mother was cooking for us, my grandma.
These are things that have been happening to us, and I feel like for us to even open our eyes, it's the fact that we are exposed to TikTok and we know what racism is, we know what discrimination is, but these are things that have really been going on for the longest. We've always been disrespected and we brush off things because we think these people are really powerful, and because of that, they've actually taken advantage of the fact that we know we are inferior. You understand? They have managed to keep us in that position of letting us know that is where you belong. I have every right because, you don't have a job and then you come, I hire you, I have every right to actually treat you the way I want to treat you. And honestly, We've not been coming out to say anything because we felt like, okay, we are at a place of disadvantage and we need their help and all of that. But the reality is that is, disrespect, that is being degraded, that is being dragged to the mud by people that actually do not even belong here, people that just came to these countries and we accepted them. They came as workers, construction workers, they came as rail workers, that the British people brought to these countries. But you see, Indians and other people that are lighter shades of brown are not necessarily melanated as we are. You understand? So they're the closest thing to white. You get it? And I feel like the white people sowed those seeds when it comes to, colorism and all of that. So they feel close to the white, supremacists. They feel like they are the closest thing to white. So they feel the urge to actually oppress people that look like us. I don't know why they do that, but that's the reality. I don't know if you've seen some clips of actually Chinese also, oppressing and beating their workers as if they're beating children. There's a video that I made, that entire video about, one Chinese man, one Asian man that was literally insulting and disrespecting Kenyans, and yet he was in Kenya and he was an investor. It is so ridiculous because, like one of our sisters said, we don't consider that as racism, but the reality is that is racism. And I feel like we have to wake up as Black people. This is the same thing that is happening in South Africa. South Africans are saying Indians are also treating them the same. When it comes to opportunities, jobs, they are literally given the lowest of the jobs. I talked about it in a certain interview that I made, and I said that these people literally, pay our people the least. They make them do the lowest of jobs, or sometimes even when they allow them to work the same jobs that they do for the same qualifications, they pay them less and put them under so much strict, control, and yet they don't do the same thing to their own people. Now, all of these things are happening in front of our eyes, but we are just like, oh, it is okay, and we don't find a problem with that. But the truth is, there's a problem as a national, This is not being racist. This is not being discriminative. This is not being divisive. No. As much as you are allowed to enjoy freedoms in our countries, you are allowed to start businesses in these countries. Put some respect on the nationals. Put some respect on the locals. You are not beyond them. You understand? You cannot be in someone's house and then you decide to start even giving them laws. You start controlling them. You start treating them like shit. That is not fair. That's not fair. We would peacefully coexist if these people really accorded us the same respect. And I feel like it is us to blame because we've given them so much power. And of course, the governments are not going to come out to say anything. It is you that feels it on a daily basis when you work for these people. Yes, when they own properties, their properties are always for them. They normally rent out to their own people, period. And like I said about the Somalis, these people seclude themselves. They are always in their own zones. You understand? Nobody else is allowed to be there. These people, some of them are actually guarded by the national securities. You understand? These people are literally too much, and I feel like it is time for us to come out to challenge these narratives, because otherwise, which type of children are you going to raise that are going to be bowing down and made to feel like they are less of human beings? I feel like it doesn't make any sense for us to be quiet anymore, especially in this generation where you're having children. First of all, the children that are coming up, they see these things, and I feel like we are setting, if we don't say anything, we will be setting our children for failure. Even if we own these countries, even if we own our businesses, even if we give you a place to stay, it's that disrespect that I feel like it should really, really be talked about. This colorism thing should be challenged. We don't need to let things, keep going and happening, because the more we've left these things happen, the more we are, we come off as dumb people. I feel like we have a lot of things to learn from Black Americans, because they don't let the people they live with, the white people, to actually intimidate them. But it took them a sacrifice. They had to come out, they had to talk, they had to, speak about these things. They had to fight for the rights some of us are actually able to enjoy. They had to fight for the reason as to why now we see this as racism, because back then it was seen as something that, a black person is just a black person, you understand? So their voices should be an inspiration to us as nationals of, the motherland, as, citizens of Africa, to actually, to challenge these narratives and put these people in their places. I do not believe in you coming to someone's place and you start treating them like, trash. It just do not make sense. And I feel like I applaud people like in Kenya that are outspoken, that are really coming out to say these things. I feel like this generation, a lot of people are they are becoming more outspoken, and they speak about these injustices, which is a good thing, because I feel like the caste is going to be, the caste is going to be broken, and I feel like it is what we need, especially in this modern day era. But yeah, guys, I don't know what you think, especially if you're living in East Africa, Uganda. Yeah, it's the same thing that is happening, by the way, in Uganda, in Tanzania, in wherever they are, right? Wherever they are. Yeah, that's how they treat their people. Discrimination is something else that they normally do, and they don't even allow actually their people to marry our own people. We had sayings back then that when a black person gets married to an Indian, they normally become the outcasts. Like the Indian person has to be chased out of the family, or they will actually unalive the child if they get to have one. So yeah, I don't know if you guys have any experiences. I want you to let me know in the comment section. If you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing and consider signing up for my channel membership. I will definitely see you in another video. It's Gracie here once again. Bye.